Welcome in. It's another Friday. I'm very happy to have you come in again today. And if you don't know what the plan is today, today is the day when we want to take your questions. We've been doing a series of workshops on here on Fridays, and some of you have sent emails. I've received over 9,000 emails, and I believe, no one knows it all. And some of these emails are very deep, and I feel like some of those answers you could benefit from as well. So today we want to publicly answer those questions anonymously and get you some answers. And if you have not sent me an email, or you haven't tweeted at me or dropped anything on Instagram for me, you want your questions to be answered, we want you to use the question box. So please use the question box. Drop those questions in the question box. We could get to some of those questions today. As you can see, I'm a little sick today, but I wanted to be here for you because accountability is very important, right? So we're waiting for our guest. I'm gonna see if I can add her by myself. And yes, let me try to add her. Finally. Hi, man. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. Yeah, so
Are
we're
you in the
starting
lab?
from
I saw your post about being in the lab, and it got me thinking, oh, that was me like 5 years ago.
yeah, so I said to get back to lab work gradually this week.
Great.
Yeah,
Well,
have
it's
a
good
lot.
to have you here. And I think we should talk about your lab work sometime, maybe privately. I'd like to know
Okay,
about it and how I can support. So
okay,
once I
great.
started the lab, I did biomedical, right? So I used to wear those lab coats and really get my pipettes on and extract
Yeah.
RNA and DNA. So I still know this
Oh, oh, great. That's exactly what I'm doing now.
stuff. All
Yeah.
right, welcome in, and thank you to everyone joining from home, wherever you are around the world. We are welcoming you to another edition of Quarantine with Dr. Addy. So when the lockdown started a few months ago, I wanted to find a way to enrich, enlighten, empower. A lot of people are at home who are wondering, okay, what's my next step now? And okay, now I'm supposed to be heading to Canada in 3 months, and the lockdown is going to affect me. Or people were losing jobs and asking questions as to how do I make myself more competitive so that I won't lose my job, or if I lose my job, how do I still continue to make money? In recent times, we've really focused on immigration to Canada and the different things that we can do to make sure your applications are on point. And the idea is we believe that you can do it yourself. I believe you can do it yourself with very little amount of guidance. And I believe in you. I believe that if you could go to school and get a degree, you can do a whole lot of things by yourself with very little amount of guidance. And we are here today because we have been receiving a lot of questions. I have received over 9,000 collective questions, emails, DMs on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and it's overwhelming. So we want to address some of those questions today for you guys. And myself and Joy happen to have the same idea. So I was thinking about answering your questions, and she was asking me, Doctor, come on my show, come and help them answer questions. So we thought, so we're gonna make this a two-part thing, and we're gonna answer some of those questions here, and we're gonna continue whatever we can't answer on another show on Mrs. Host channel, so that way we cover most people with questions. So we have divided the questions into 3 categories. We have the study abroad categories for people who are trying to migrate through study, and we have the express entry or permanent residency category, and then the last one is on the career transitioning, career mapping category. So I think we're going to go back and forth so that you don't keep hearing somebody's voice. I am going to be addressing the study abroad category, And Mrs. O is going to be addressing the express entry, PR, and PMP, everything PR category. And I will also be addressing the career transitioning, career mapping category. So how we'll start today is we'll take two questions from each category and go from there. So because I've been the one talking all along, so Joy is probably going to open the questions for the permanent residency category. Like I said before, we plan to take 30 questions today. If you have questions, you are happy, you are lucky to be here, maybe we can take some of your questions as well. So please use the question box to drop your questions. Whenever you're ready, ma'am, you can get going.
Yeah, I'm just trying to bring out the questions. I'm not sure where exactly I kept them.
Middle of the of your screen. You're on the side. We can't really see your face.
Oh, okay. So I'm trying to look for, my own part of the questions. I think I copied and pasted it somewhere.
Okay. Do you want me to go first?
Oh, yeah, you can go first while I search for it, right? Okay,
so I'm going to go first and start with the study abroad category. There's a question here asking that I'm a master's degree, I'm graduate of statistics and a single guy with an unpaid job of just a year experience. How can I boost my ties to a country if I want to apply for a Canadian student visa? I'm reading from my second screen, so it could look like I'm looking elsewhere. Please pardon me for that. She's going to try to dial back in. Okay, so I have one single slide to help us answer that question. I hope you can see the question. And let me break it down for whoever owns this question, who is trying to understand how do I migrate to Canada with as a student, but this person is also talking about ties with Canada. When you're trying to migrate to Canada as a student, it's very important for you to know that having ties with Canada will make it tough for you. You actually don't want to show that you have any ties with Canada. And some of the things you need to consider when you're thinking about, I need a student visa or I've gotten admission or something like that, are the following that I have on here. We don't have Mrs. O back. Hopefully she joins us back. One of them is financial stability and tuition deposit. So let's say you're going to a master's degree program in a school, they're giving you an admission. To be able to get the visa, you need, instead of trying to find ties to Canada, which will work against you, you need to be able to show that you have financial stability and that you have maybe paid a part of that tuition for that program, or you have actually paid everything. When you can prove that, it makes the visa application process for student visa a lot more smoother and easier. What do you need? Pay a part of the tuition. The second one is financial stability that can be proven from your bank statement. So showing, so sorry, she's asking me to add her. I was trying to do that. I can't see her. Sorry, guys. I'm looking for Mrs. O. Joy, I can't see you on. Okay. So we're waiting for you, Joy. So for financial stability, you need your bank statement from your bank to be able to prove that. And write a good study plan. So if you're trying to apply for Canadian visa, you need a study plan. So some people will call it a statement of purpose. I call it a study plan because this is your chance to prove to the immigration officer what you are going to do there. How is that important to you? How is this related to your career goal? And help you to figure out that, help you to prove to them that actually what you're going to study is something that will add value to your career, right? And in some cases, English requirements, English proficiencies are important. So you want to make sure that if that school requires English proficiency, you can prove to the visa agent that, yes, I have English proficiency. I always also tell people that you need to apply on time. If school is resuming in September, definitely when it gets to August, July, August, there will be a lot of rushing. There will be a lot of applicants trying to secure visa. If all of you all apply in August or July, when school is resuming in September, they are going to scrutinize a lot of people out because they're going to be very strict because there is just too much pressure on the visa office. So if you can, please try to apply earlier. Once you get your acceptance letter from your school, start processing your application right away. Do not wait until it's 2 months before resumption before you start applying, because that could work against you seriously. A student's background matches selected program. So I want to kind of explain a bit here. If your selected program is, how this works is you have a bachelor's degree. I'm hoping that you have some sort of work experience. If you're, let me see if, okay, she's finally, hopefully she can join properly this time. So if you have a master's that you are going to pursue and your bachelor's is completely different, I still can't see you. I have it. Okay, finally, great.
Yeah.
All right. So do you have your slides? Can I continue?
Oh yeah.
All right.
I have my.
The next one I was talking about is making sure that whatever you want to go and study, it's either that thing relates to your bachelor's degree or you have work experience in it. Sometimes, especially in countries like Nigeria or Ghana, you may have a degree in engineering and end up working in bank for 10 years. Now, if you want to go and do a master's degree and say you want to do a master's degree in engineering, it could be a little tricky because you have not been an engineer for 10 years. But yes, you have a background in engineering. If you write a very good statement of purpose or letter of intent, it may really correlate well and you may really still be able to go through. But the easier channel is having to go for a master's degree related to your current work experience. It makes it show that, yes, I have learned in this industry, I have found out some problem, and now I want to go and do a master's degree to understand how do I solve that problem. It makes the visa process very easier, right? But if your background and your work experience do not tally, and now you want to just go off into something else because everyone is doing IT, you think from a work experience that is different and a background that is different, you just want to go over to IT. Securing such a visa, to be honest, is going to be a hassle. Yes, it is doable, but if you're asking yourself, why was my visa refused? That is one of the red flags that they use to refuse people. Another one is age and gender. What we have seen is statistically 55% to 70% of visa issues that are accepted are given to females. So if you and your husband are thinking of who to apply for student visa, let's say you've tried express entry and you realize that you're too old, it didn't work out, and now you think somebody must go to school so that you can do this stuff. Your wife, if she has good work experience, she has a better chance at securing that visa. So I would suggest that your wife should be the applicant for the school stuff because they give women visa more than they give men. Now let's talk a bit about age. If you are coming to Canada to apply for a bachelor's degree, I would strongly advise that if you are older than 25, you should really have a strong letter of intent because yes, there is always special interest in older applicants, but also being older than 25 and you're just going for a bachelor's degree could be a red flag. They could flag you and not give you your visa because of that. If you're older than 35, you are coming to grad school, you must really prove that it is this your work experience that is inspiring you to go and take a master's degree. If you need to be able to, we have to think about that age because age and gender definitely play a role in whether you get that visa or you don't get that visa. So females have easier. I'm a female. I'm sorry that this is a bias, but this is an unconscious bias and it's established. So females are easier. Age, if you are younger, less than 35, doing a master's degree, it's a good position. But if you are older, support it with a very good statement of intent, connecting your work experience to that master's degree. And lastly, your travel history. So your travel history and immigration record. So you have applied to Canada 4 times, they've denied you. You've applied to the US 3 times, they've denied you. These people share history with one another. When they look at those denials, those are red flags. Those are red flags and there could be questions. Or you've applied for PR, you've applied for visa lottery, you've applied for all of these things. The immigration person can see it. When they ask you questions about whether you have been refused before or not, please do not lie. Tell them you have been refused. And yes, this could be a red flag. This could be bad, but just, you have to be open. You have to say the truth. You cannot lie in this situation. Level of education the student is applying for. So this is critical, because now you have 2 masters. Now you want to come and apply for a 3rd master's in Canada. That is very tricky, because the immigration officer may be thinking, why are you collecting masters up and down, right? That you probably are not going there because of school. You just want a ticket to be able to get out of Nigeria. So you really, when you have a situation like that, or you already have a master's degree, now you want to go and do a bachelor's, it's a red flag. The immigration person is going to start to wonder, why would you have a master's and now want to go back to a bachelor's? It just doesn't make sense. So we want to make sure that your application is properly packaged, such that in some cases, it's not everything that you have that you need to show off. Sometimes if your situation is, I have masters already and I'm going to do a bachelor's, remove the masters. They don't know you have it. Instead of putting all of it together and confusing the immigration person, I'd say you need to critically look at, what is it that will give me a best shot? Whatever is not necessary, even if it's higher level of education, or it's 2 masters. I know you work for that master's, 2 solid years suffering, but if it's only going to work against you, I'll advise you take it off. You keep the master's that is going to help you when you write your letter of intent. You may say that is the master's that enable you to get the job that you are working on. And now there is focus on the jobs of the future, and there are new skill sets that are required. Do you think the 2nd master's is going to offer you the skill set required for you to continue to be competitive at your work? So if somebody is reading that, they get why you need a 2nd master's. So they will not see this as a red flag. They will see this as, you want to stay competitive, and this is why you need a 2nd master's. So please make sure that you keep in mind that your statement of intent must stand out, must be relatable, must make sense. Don't just, it's not all the time that you have to start writing about when you were a child, all the things that inspire you. Nobody give a crap about that if it's not related to what is going to make you competitive. Stay on point, stay true to yourself, stay true to that application. And I spent too much time on question 1. Okay, I'll let Joy do our own 1 question as well.
Okay, thank you. So someone is asking what they should do because the date of birth on their academic transcript is not real. I don't know, for whatever reason, it's fake. So he said it's a long story. Or she said it's a long story. So I changed the date of birth so I could get admission into the university. At that time, I had no idea it would reflect on my transcript. So apparently, I think the question is, you have a different date of birth on your transcript. And then I wrote to my school requesting that they should change it, but nothing can be done because it's already in their database. So you have a different age of birth or date of birth on your transcript. And also maybe when you're filling, for your passport or whatever, you use your real age, but then on your transcript is the wrong age, and then they are refusing to change it. So what you do in this case is just to, attach your birth certificates and also get a court affidavit, get an affidavit from a court and then attach it together. So whenever you're submitting your transcripts, when you get the WES, because on the WES evaluation is going to show your date of birth. Even when you're sending it to WES, make sure you attach all these documents, and also you can also attach a letter of explanation telling them that the one you have in your school, whatever, transcript is wrong and that you're not able to fix it, maybe because of technical issues or whatever issues it is. So all you need to do, attach an explanatory letter, your certificate of birth, your birth certificate, and also your court affidavit, for them to know that this is your real age. So wherever you're taking that transcript to, make sure you attach all those documents, and think that will fix the problem.
Okay, thank you. Can I go
next?
Okay. It's one more question. So this next question is focusing on education in Canada, studying in Canada. And the person is asking and saying, in relations to a PhD, do you have a focus? Do you have to focus your research to benefit the Canadian economy in a way, in order to stand a better chance of securing admissions and scholarship? or full funding opportunity. So I want to really break this down a bit for people. So I have a mentorship program, and I mentor a lot of people. And what I have seen is Africans were very passionate about Africa and African problems. And when we're coming abroad to have our master's done or a PhD, oftentimes we want to focus on problems that are affecting Africa and how we can really help Africa become better. That is a great idea. But when you're going to get a PhD, I want you to have a global view. Instead of just having an African view, I want you to have a global view. This is very painful, but I'm going to say it. A problem that is currently being solved in Africa or needs solution to in Africa, they are probably already solved in the West 10 years ago. So if you want to come here to solve such a problem, that research question is not innovative, is not a niche that can win you patents, it's not a good niche, to be honest. Some of them are good niche, some of them are really innovative, but to be honest with you, before you make that decision about whether you need a PhD or not, I want you to ask yourself, what exactly do I want to focus my research on? By considering this factor, when you look at your career roadmaps, the functional areas, I want you to think about what areas is currently being explored, what area is really being explored based on connection to the jobs of the future. In my field, what is the threat that we have to our future? What is the area that people are researching in? Because it is just very crucial for the future of work in your field. If you can identify 3 to 4 of those areas, I want you to choose the one that you think, if I do this, I'm going to be happy. I'm going to feel like I'm addressing global issues, and this can also be applicable to African issues. Don't just focus on African issue. Focus on a research area that is innovative, that is globally we are looking for answers to that. And once you have identified that, now you go and find a school where they are focusing on that research, and you look for professors. When you look for those professors, you want to read their profile. Which one, if you see a professor who haven't published any paper for 5 years, don't bother yourself sending them emails. They may not have funding, because if somebody has not published, if you have any grant in Canada, those grants last for 3 years. And within 3 years, you must be solving problems. You must be publishing papers, because if you don't, they're not going to renew your grants. So if somebody is not publishing papers and then you are sending them your letter of intent or sending them emails, they may not reply. So make sure that the professors you identify that you can work with, they are people that you have read some of their papers. They have recent works in the last 18 months. What have they published? You've read it. You are sure that you know the right keywords, and that could actually be related to the work you are doing. So I'm taking this conversation away completely from, should I be focusing on Canadian related problems? If Canada government is giving a researcher money, I can bet it with you that is either solving Canadian problem or is solving a global problem. This global problem, in some cases, could be targeted to areas that need relief, like Nigeria, like Ghana, like Syria, like those places. So it is possible for you to also find professors who are funded by the Canadian government or a global fund that is addressing African-related problems. But in most cases, to be honest, if the government of Canada gives you money, you are specifically going to solve Canadian-related problems. An example of that is COVID-19. COVID-19 is a global pandemic. And University of Carleton, they announced today that over 20 of their researchers just got fresh funding for biomedical sciences research, focusing on finding cure to COVID-19 and stuff like that. So if somebody is in biomedical science, you have to tweak your research now. You have to start to think, okay, maybe I can start looking at what research can I do that can help solve COVID-19 problem. And you can go to Carleton University, look at those profiles of those professors and apply. Because COVID-19 is global, it's no longer restricted to Canada, but it's Canada that gave them money. So they will definitely put the interest of their country first. Are you thinking about, okay, if I now finish in Canada, how can I relate that back to Nigeria? Some of us has continued to ask those questions. I have a PhD in biomedical engineering. Nigeria is slow poison on biomedical engineering research. I've not been able to go back home, but I've continued to thrive in my career. Globally, I've been recognized for some of the very good work that I've done. I've given a TED Talk. So everywhere you are, you can make Nigeria proud. So I've continued to make Nigeria proud. Yes, my research is so futuristic for Nigeria, but someday they will get there. And we'll be able to go back and impact them. We do not limit yourself because you are so passionate about Africa. You want to make sure you are serving them right now. Go and serve Africa outside. When they need your help, they will come and call you. Last year, Nigerian government sent for me to come home and talk about education reform. They flew me to Abuja, you know, all this very nice welcome. I was wondering, hey, my papa no be that good, how did I land here? But how? My research, the futuristic work that I have done. So please don't limit your research to, it has to be Nigeria. If you do it for Canada, just have a global view. I really believe that you will do well and definitely be able to still give back to Africa. My answers need to be shorter. Joy, you're next. Madam, you're next.
Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay, so I got a call and it kind of, you know, just lowered. I can barely hear you.
Okay.
And I don't know how to set that. So I don't want to touch it because I don't want to go through the process of reconnecting again. So I'm going to take another question asking about age for the express entry. So he said he'll be 40 this year and the wife is 32, both HND holders. And okay, the wife is a degree holder. And then they've tried the express entry, but then they couldn't get to the cutoff because of age and other factors. So he's asking what exactly they are going to do in their own situation. So, I mean, if your age is not, if the express entry does not favor you because of your age, I don't think there's anything you can do, because even if you want to go through the provincial nominee, you still have to, you know, get to the cutoff. And you're saying you have a 62. So most of the provincial nominee requires 67 out of the 100. So I think I would just advise you to.
Saskatchewan requires 60.
I can barely hear you.
Saskatchewan requires 60.
Sorry, let me see if I can touch the volume. I do not want to.
Hello?
Okay. I don't know what happened.
Can you hear me?
Do I cut and reconnect?
Oh, God. We're going to...
Okay, yeah. Don't worry. I'm going to use my headset. I'm sure it will be fine if I use my headset.
So I was saying that Saskatchewan has 2 immigration programs and that they have the occupation of demand. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah.
So I was saying Saskatchewan, they have 2 immigration programs. They have the occupation on demand and the Saskatchewan express entry one. So for people with older people, I mean the older people, 60 is their cutoff, not 67. And older people have a very good chance at trying Saskatchewan nominee if their job fall under the occupation in demand category. So they need to check the occupation in demand category, and if they fall in there, even if they are older, it is the only province with that. And Alberta also, but if you can't get in the pool, or so Alberta can pick 300, right? They pick from 300 CRS up, and
well, can they pick you? Can they pick you if you're not in the pool? If you don't qualify to be in the pool?
For Alberta, you have to be in the pool. For Saskatchewan, you don't. The occupation in demand one is not express entry. It's not express entry. So you don't have to be in the pool. So for people who can't enter the pool, that is the only option they can try.
So I think whoever that posted that question, so you should just go ahead and try the check it, because they say, okay, he said he's an architect and the wife she studied theater arts. So is this something in demand in Saskatchewan?
I don't know. They have to check the list, the occupation in demand list, and if it's there, they can try and see whether they can get it. So maybe they can, maybe they can't. So what should they do if they can't?
They'll probably go for studies or try to secure a job. You know, if you can secure a job, then that's another plus for you, because you get a lot of points for, you know, being able to secure a job. So if your job is not in demand and you can't do that, so you can try, you know, going through international recruiters. There are a lot of recruiting agencies. So what they do in Canada, they are Canadian firms or agencies. So all they do is you send them your CV, you open a profile with them, and then they help you get a job. And then there's another website. I'm still trying to, you know, get the actual website where you can just go, and what they do basically is they you know, post adverts for jobs where they, you know, agree to sponsor you. So you get those jobs where those people are out, they've already searched in Canada, and then they can't find anybody to fit in those positions, and then they are advertising on those sites. But I'm still having a bit of confusion about it. So I'm talking to someone. So once I have it, yeah, I'm going to post it, or I'll probably send it to Dr. Addy to post it for you guys. So you can just go there. So any job you're getting on that side, that is because those people have agreed to sponsor you. So if you can, you know, get that one, I think that's a plus for you too.
So we Twitter people, we will harass Mrs. Ho until she gives us that website. We will keep tweeting at us, at her, and ask you, where is our website for LMIA?
I got one actually, but I want to verify, because I don't like to post something I'm not sure of, right? So I want to verify that it's authentic before I post it out there.
Thank you. I think on the study one, I always say to people, like, it's if you're old and you feel like you can't go through that route, just determine to come and do the school route, and do you and your wife, one of you may be working and the other one will be going to school, and by the time your program is done, you will have enough points in terms of Canadian work experience to be able to now apply. So a school option is not a bad option. Just save up that money, and it will be good for you to get in and start your life. After a year, you apply for PR, and the rest is history. So I'm going to take number 3 question.
Can I say something before you move forward, please? Yes. So you talked about if your age. So it does, the fact that you're old, right? So you're coming in as a matured student. So I get a lot of questions, even on your page. I saw people saying that, oh, I'm a married woman and I want my father to sponsor me. So if you're matured, or you're actually applying to study because, you know, you don't fit into the express entry, it's advisable for you to have your own money. You can't say you're coming in as a mature person and then you have a sponsor, your uncle is sponsoring you, or you don't even have your own money. So that one alone will raise eyebrows. So once you want to do this kind of thing, make sure you have the money. If someone is giving you money, they should try and deposit it into your account. It's better you go for what do they call it? A gift
deed.
I can't remember. Yeah, gift deed. Yeah, for that. Don't say someone is sponsoring you or you have a benefactor at that age. They are not stupid. They know what you're doing. So
thank you for that. So I want to talk about IELTS for a second. There are 2 questions. I'm going to lump them up into one. One person asked, what is better for Canada, TOEFL or IELTS? I haven't seen anyone do TOEFL for express entry. IELTS is what IELTS and CELPIP are the 2 that we do. So do not go and take TOEFL if you want to do the express entry or permanent residence application. If you are considering the school option, TOEFL is okay. And what option should you take? Somebody's asking, when should I do general training and when should I do academic? If you are coming to Canada as a student, you have to take the academic IELTS, not the general one. If you're applying to express entry or you're doing any permanent residence related route, you need the general training. Let's say you're trying both options. That means you have to write IELTS twice. I'm sorry, but that is just what you have to do. And somebody asked again, should I do paper-based IELTS or electronic-based IELTS? To be honest, Canada is indifferent to whether you do paper-based or IELTS. But to the best of my knowledge, so for someone like me who have crazy handwriting that is not readable, go and do electronic-based where you can type out. If you cannot read what you have typed, you have background in your writing, it's not going to go well. If you're a medical doctor or you're like me, your handwriting is not good, paper-based may work against you. Also, paper-based, the result comes, I think, about 7 to 9 days later than the electronic-based. The electronic-based result is faster. So I think the world is moving digitally. Let's cooperate with the world by trying to use the digital approach, especially with the fact that it has more benefit. Again, academic for people who are doing study routes, general for people who are doing permanent residence route, paper or computer. Canada does not care, but there are advantages to electronic route. So it is recommended to do that. Do not take TOEFL for express entry. It is not acceptable. I think CELPIP, IELTS, and TEF for the French one is what the options are. It is available on CIC's website. You can read there for more information. Thank you. Your turn.
Okay. So someone is saying, is 3 million naira enough to finance the entire process? I don't know if it's the entire process of coming to study or the entire process of, getting your PR. But anyways, I'm going to answer it assuming that you're talking about PR. So there are two things, right? So when you're applying for your PR, first, you need to have money at least to pay for all your processing fees and all the required fee. That one is an amount you will pay. You're not keeping it for yourself. And then you need to have proof of fund. So the proof of fund is just going to stay in your account. You're not giving it to the embassy, but it has to stay in your account. So when people ask, what does it cost to do your express entry? I don't even know how to answer that question because it doesn't cost much. The money you have in your account is your money. You're not giving it to them. So it's just sitting there, looking at you and also looking at them. You're just leaving it there for, having your proof of fund. So it's actually what you pay, which it doesn't even sum up to 2,000 Canadian dollars. I have a breakdown of it. Yeah, so you pay your application fee, 1,325 Canadian dollars. That is if you're paying together with the right of permanent residency fee. Then if you have your spouse with you, you also pay the same amount. Then if you have, any dependents, you pay 225 Canadian dollars. So that is all you need to pay. So it depends on how many you are. If you're a family of 2, 3, 4, 5, so you just, keep multiplying it. Then when it comes to proof of fund, so the most recent, the most updated proof of fund, it ranges from 12,960 Canadian dollars for a family of one, for just one person, then down to 34,299 Canadian dollars. That is for a family of 7. And then for every extra person you add, you get an extra, 3,492. I know why I'm calling it down to the last figure, because your proof of fund must not be lower than what they have on their website by even 1 Canadian dollars. So if they have said 34,299, please have $34,299 or more. Don't have less. Don't have $34,298, because that one alone can ruin your chances. I don't know, but I'm just saying this because I know they are very precise people, and that is why they have, written this figure down to, they've done their calculation and they know that this is the amount you need, to be okay as a permanent resident in Canada. So when you're saying 3 million is roughly, I don't know how much it's going to be in Canadian dollars, but yeah, you can do your calculation and know if you're on the right track or not.
Mrs. O, somebody's asking if they can use investment or statement as proof of fund.
So you can't use investment because it doesn't amount to, it depends on what kind of investment. Do you have the investment readily available? So this proof of fund is something you have readily available that you can come to Canada with, not something. When you say investment, is maybe if you're coming to study and you want something to tie you, like a tie, you're looking for a tie, you can say, okay, let me use my investment and let me use other stuff. But for this one, I think you can use a gift deed, like if you have a gift deed, and then you can use what you have at the moment. So when you say investment, I'm not sure what kind of investment. Is it something you can get a liquid cash, to use for your, taking care of yourself while you're in Canada?
Yes, so they need this to be in liquid cash. Even your gift deed is a liquid cash, right? Somebody gave it to you, maybe your mother or something like that, is finally in your account. If it's not in your account, it's not counted as part of this. If it's a land you are looking at somewhere, that is not acceptable. You need to sell that land. You need to see that it's right there in your account, because investment value could go down, right? So we don't know. So you need to have it as liquid cash. I have a question here. I want to address somebody asking, can a lawyer cross over to tech? This is from the career side. So this person is a lawyer, and the person is concerned about the jobs of the future and how they said digital world is going to take their jobs. And here are some of the answers that I have for you. A lawyer who has gone through the JD processes, being called to bar, that is a lot of work. Now to now want to leave your career completely and move over to tech, I don't think that is a good idea. Here, there's something called career crossover, where you look at that new area and think about how can I jump in without completely jumping in. For the laws, for the people in law, I think there are a couple of ways to jump in. One of them is to look at the areas of data protection and privacy. There are lawyers who are working in this area. As the world becomes highly digitized, data protection has become a thing because of we have constantly been having issues with data breach, right? So when data breaching occur, we need lawyers to help companies respond appropriately to data breaches and to help them craft a good privacy policy to keep companies safe. This is a very lucrative areas where lawyers are currently looking at. I want to also touch about e-discovery. So when there are legal battles between people, oftentimes you're looking at emails, you are looking at collecting and producing evidences electronically, maybe through their online presence and different things like that. But like when, you know, Elon Musk, he just sometimes says some stuff, right? So someone like him, if he gets himself into trouble, maybe by what he says, an e-discovery lawyer will be the one gathering all the trades around and saying, so date Elon Musk said this is how it's connected to the case. E-discovery lawyers are highly sought after, and they do a little bit of tech. So you can look at that as a lawyer and see how you can plug yourself into that area. Another area is patent and trademark laws. Right now, with new companies erupting, several startups starting up, especially in the areas of Industry 4.0, it is very critical for us to have patent lawyers, trademark lawyers who will help us trademark our brands. As new brands rise up because of Instagram presence, Twitter presence, and all that, we continue to need trademark lawyers. So if you're thinking about law is no longer lucrative for me, I'm really concerned, I'm thinking about tech, how can I benefit? You can look in that direction. Tax law is another one. As new companies start, right, a lot of these people, they were just individuals, they filed their taxes, they don't know how corporate tax work. They are wondering as to, oh, I'm making 1 million a year. How do I understand how that works? They need tax lawyers who are going to help them ensure that they are paying the government appropriately and also having some pay cuts or some tax cuts, taking advantage of everything the government is able to give them. So it's another very lucrative area. Compliance is another area. When you are doing businesses, you are wondering whether you are complying with the law of your country. In this day and age, we are trading around the world. We are trading globally. My services are being sold to people in Africa, my consulting services. I am doing mentorship with people. For some people, they sell on Amazon. They sell from the US, they sell to people in Canada, to Europe, to so many different places. They need to make sure that they are complying with the laws of those places and with the law of the state, the origin, where the product is coming from. A lawyer is going to help them think about compliance, think about all of those things, cross-border trade and all that. So lawyers are still very much needed in the tech businesses. You just need to really think about these different areas that I talk about. Think about your area of law. How can you cross over to those areas? Do you need to take some courses, or you don't even need to take any courses? You just need to diversify a little bit of your portfolio from where you are into that area. It is possible. Do not panic if you're a lawyer. We believe that we need you as people in technology, and you don't need to start to code. We don't need you to start to code. We just need you to know where are the opportunities and plug yourself in, and we'll be very willing and able to use your help. Thank you. Your turn.
Okay, so someone is asking how they can boost their CRS score. She said, or he said, they have 460 and they've been in the pool for a long time. So talking about how you can boost your CRS score. So there are a lot of things you can do, you know, to boost your CRS score. I'll just touch on a few of them.
Do you want me to find that slide? It's going to be very small.
Oh, don't worry. I think I have it here. I'll just use what I have here because okay. They won't even see it. So there's no point here. So basically what you can do to improve your CRS score. I know a lot of you don't know that you can also take the test of French. Yeah, we don't know how to speak French, but it's something you can do or you might want to do. So you can take, you know, the test of French because it adds you know, extra points for you. I think it adds about I'm not sure. Let me let me not say something I'm not sure of. So having French as your second language is going to add extra 30 points. So imagine that you have 460 and you take the, even if you get, let's say, extra 15 score, even if you don't get all the maximum score, the 30 score, but at least you can get like 15 and you add it to your 460. So you're having a 475. And then the last cutoff, last time they picked a draw was 470. So you're good to go. So something else you can do if you have a brother or sister living in Canada, you get an extra 15 points. But if you don't have, I mean, there's nothing you can do. So your brother or your sister should be a citizen or a permanent resident of Canada, so you can get 15 points. And then post-secondary education in Canada, I mean, I know it's not applicable to you because you're outside here, but if you had that, you would have gotten an extra 30 points. And also, if you're able to secure an employment, so I keep saying this, if you're able to secure an employment, whichever way you know how to, if you're able to secure, you know, an employment in Canada, that gives you a whooping 200 on your CRS score, like you have 200 points. I mean, so you can also do that. And then the provincial nomination is something you can do, right? So that gives you 600 points. So you can look out provinces. I think the most popular province people go for is the Alberta and also the Saskatchewan, because I mean they don't have the strict rules that says you have to have a job offer. The one here in Newfoundland, you have to have a job offer. So this, you have to go for the ones that, you know, do not require a job offer. And also if you have a family member in those places, it also adds points for you. So those are some of the things you can do, right? Dr. Addy, you want to shed any light on this?
Yes, I could add something on Manitoba. In Manitoba, you actually don't have to be related to the person. If you have a friend in Manitoba and you're applying for their provincial nominee program, you'll get some point. I think it's 10 or so for having a friend. If you have a distant cousin or something like that, you still get some points for Manitoba. So for anyone who is really thinking about, I need extra point, and this will be based on maybe having a tie to Canada, they can look at Manitoba. In the past, people even don't need to know those people directly. Maybe your uncle has a friend. That also could work if that person can write some things when it's time for them to show up for you. That is also something they can look at. And I also always want to say that you can rewrite your IELTS. If you have IELTS of band 8 or something, there is still opportunity to collect band 9. You can prepare for that IELTS and rewrite it. And if you are the sole applicant, you can include your spouse, and your spouse can write IELTS and apply together, right? When your spouse come on board, they count their work experience, they count their education. It doesn't matter whatever they score in IELTS. If it's acceptable, I believe that could boost your score. If you have been doing it as a person, as a full applicant, and you have not included your spouse, maybe try to convince your husband or wife.
Sorry, I just want to say something, right? So about adding your spouse, so you have to be very careful doing that, because if your spouse has low points, it's going to drag your points down.
Yeah,
so it's very exactly, yeah. So for your spouse to add an extra point for you, which is just the maximum of 40. I mean, it's just 40. That's the highest they can add to you.
My sister,
but for
40 is a lot for people who have
yeah. But for them to even get to this 40, they have to ace their IELTS. They have to have a good job experience, at least 5 years, that gets you the maximum point. You know, they have to have a degree or something. So, but if your spouse, you know, your spouse is just a post-secondary school or maybe diploma, and then they score 5, you know, people say, oh, so long as you're adding your spouse, no, it doesn't add points to you. So you have to be careful. In some cases, it's better for you to go by yourself, and then when you get to Canada, you do a spousal sponsorship for your spouse to come join you. So it's not in all cases. So you have to be sure that your spouse is, you know, has aced everything they are coming in for. So they bring in that 40 points for you instead of dragging you. So from what I have here, without a spouse, you stand a chance of getting 150 points when it comes to the education. And it's in, you know, if I go to all the breakdowns like education, language, and whatever, I can give you all the points. But with your spouse, you're getting 140, which is lesser. So the positive or the advantage of adding your spouse is to make sure that your spouse too, you know, they stand out in all the, you know, all the classes or all the levels of the point scoring system. And then something else I was going to say, for those of you with, I think I want to say this here because now you have points for diplomas, which are lesser than when you have, there's, when you go to the CRS score, like when you want to calculate your CRS score and you get to the education part, so it tells you what kind of education do you have? Do you have, you know, less than secondary school, or is it a secondary school diploma, or is it 1-year degree? So when you get to the last one before the masters, it says 2 or more certificates, diplomas, or degree. One must be you know, must be a program of 3 years or more. So for those of you who have just BSc, you know, you can actually get, because you already have BSc, which already certifies the, you know, 3 years or more, you can actually just go do a diploma course or a certificate course that is favorably evaluated by WES or by any other acceptable body. With this one, you get more scores than having just the BSc. So you get a 126 with a spouse, and you get a 135 without a spouse. But sorry, you get 119 with a spouse, and you get 128 without a spouse. But for master's degree, you get 126, which is higher, but it's still better off than just 112 that you get for your bachelor's degree. At least you have like 8 more points or 7 points. So if you have a BSc, you can get a certificate course. But make sure your certificate course is favorably evaluated by WES or by any of the acceptable bodies that do the evaluation, so that at least you can get like more points. 128 is a lot of, sorry, 10 points is a lot of points, so it can go a long way for you. I hope I'm making sense.
Yeah, you are. Thank you.
Okay, yeah.
All right. So this question, so somebody was asking, what about the questions they posted on my Twitter page? I collected those questions, the ones that I feel like these ones we have not answered and they're critical, or I've received some of them in my email. So we are not only answering these questions based on emails or Instagram or Twitter, it's a combination of everything that we're treating today. So the question I'm answering next, I think, is actually from Twitter. The person is asking, saying, if I must state in my letter of intent that I will return back to Nigeria after studying in Canada because of my family and job that I will leave behind, won't that affect my transitioning to PR after studying in Canada? Okay, so this person is concerned about the statements of intent that they will provide at the embassy to get their study visa, and whether Canada keeps a track record of that, and whether that will speak against them when they're applying for PR. I don't think that is the case, because all of us, literally all of us who came to Canada as students, needed to show Canada that we will leave Canada after our studies. If we did not prove that, they will not give us the visa. In the end, we've been able to convert our status to permanent residents and subsequently citizens. So I think you must separate these two. Focus on the student's application, put in everything I talked about previously, statements, put in extra evidence, your travel history, everything you need to make you competitive. Put that, your statement of intent, tell them you are returning and give them a good proof of why you need to return. When you go to Canada, that phase of permanent residence is a second phase. Don't think about that right now. It's something you need to deal with later. So let's leave that out of the bag. Again, do not panic about whether they keep the record. I, for one, don't think they keep the record, because if they keep the record, they won't give me citizenship, right? They've given me that. So I know that they definitely don't keep that record. And hopefully you are able to write yourself a very good statement of intent. And
but even if they keep the record, I don't think it really matters, because what they want to know is that you have integrity. You came to study and you actually did study. Yes, you said you were going to return back, but then they are giving you the opportunity. Do you actually still want to return back, or you want to transition? Otherwise, they won't have those programs that enable students to transition. So it's not because they do not keep the record, but it's because you fulfilled that part that shows them you have your integrity. You've completed your study. So that alone is a plus for you. So it doesn't matter if you actually want to go back or not, so long as you're not here on a scholarship, one of those scholarship that says you're not entitled to, be
Yes.
here. So you came in here, you said, oh, when I finish, I would go back. You came, you actually finished, and then they are telling you, oh, do you still want to go back? Do you want to stick to what you've said, or you want to stay back? So I'm sure they know. Like, there's no how they won't keep track of the letter you've written. They know.
Yes.
So just
It's
make sure you
showing
come in and
affection.
study. It's only going to be a problem if you come in and you do not study. And if you're doing a change of course, make sure you notify those people. You've come in to study nursing, you're changing to go to a different school. Just notify them. Just send an email to immigration. So they will just, it's just like a follow-up. So they have track of you so that in the future, when you're coming to apply for your postgraduate work permit, they open their system and they see all your movement is documented. It's very important. So never underestimate those people. They have track, they keep record of everything you do, right?
Yes, we have 1 minute 30 seconds left. Do you want to go for a question, or you want us to just
I think we should just
we didn't answer any question in the box. I'm sorry about that. Maybe we can take 1 or 2 before this cuts off. Madam, are you able to see the box? Somebody's asking, you're the express entry person. What effect do you think COVID-19 pandemic will have on the express entry scheme? You have 1 minute.
Okay, so the thing is, for now, there is no draw for people outside Canada. It's only for people inside Canada. But I got the news. I don't know how authentic that is, but I don't want to pass the information because I'm not sure, right? I've not seen it from, the immigration minister. So let's wait till he says that. But just know that for now, it's only for, Canadian experience class and also provincial nominees. So there is no draw that is happening. So all you can do now is to be there boosting your points. Boost your point as much as you can. Because when all this is over and they start to take draws from there, they are going to, filter all those ones that have the highest score first. So now we can't even say 470 is the cutoff because we don't know what's happening in the pool. So just boost your points as much as you can. I think that's all you can do for me.
Okay, we have 14 more seconds, guys. Hi guys, we got cut off, and we're hoping that people can get back in and we can continue. I hope this is helping so far. I'm sorry that we haven't picked any of your questions here. We will start to pick your questions now. Yes, you are priority because you are the one who is here with us today. So please, for God's sake, resend the questions to us here, and we will start addressing these questions that are right in front of us and make sure that you get answers to your questions. Please put your questions in the question box. It's easier to read them if they're in the question box. Go live. I am inviting our madam, Mrs. O, and she's back on. Hey, madam. Sorry about Instagram just kind of went boom on us, and welcome back. I think because we have our guests and we have people on there who are available to us, I was thinking if we can look at their questions and take a few of them. And please, guys, drop your question in the question box, and we will select some of them because you guys are here. You prioritize us. You put your notification on, and we think we should not only provide you answers based on the collected questions, that we should also ensure that your voices are heard because you are the one who has been loyal to us. Do you want to go? Next question.
Okay, I'll just scroll through. I think for the next, we're going to do this in 2 parts, right? So for the one next weekend, I'll strictly take questions that are posted here because I think, they are the ones who are here. So that's because it's important to them. So someone said they did not declare all the siblings' name in the previous application. Now want to declare all in the next. So did you apply for a study visa, or what kind of application did you apply for that you did not declare them? So you did not declare them. Did you say you did not have siblings, or you did not just declare them? If you did not just declare them, I think it's okay for you to declare them because you did not lie. Do you understand? So if you had a portion where it says, because when you're applying for a visa, you cannot leave any space blank. So if it says name of sibling, you cannot submit it blank. It's either you said non-applicable or you said not applicable. So if you already said not applicable, that means you're telling them you do not have siblings. So you cannot come down and, you know, put their names, because that means you lied. So there's going to be discrepancy in the information you're giving them.
Okay.
How do you... Yeah, go. You go.
So can you see the stuff that I put up?
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. I didn't know you can do that. So yes, so a question came in. How do I construct an email to professors for graduate studies? What I want to say here is next Friday, I am bringing professors. One of them has said yes. I'm trying to get confirmation from the second one. I'm trying to bring 2 Nigerian professors who went to school in Canada, who can tell you what specifically you should put in your emails. Because I have a mentorship program, I help people draft this, and I can give you a few clues. If your email is less than 3 paragraphs, nobody's going to read it. If your email sounds apologetic and religious, nobody's going to read it. If your email is not connecting to the research of that person, by you mentioning certain keywords that will make it clear that you actually are going to be able to help in their lab, you are not going to get a response, or they are going to tell you no. You need to understand the fact that this email is your shot at getting an attention. There cannot be any typo in that email. That email must not only talk about you needing help. Nigerians, we always talk about we need help. You need to talk about what you can do for that professor, what you can do for their work. And that email, I always say, a reference letter speaks more than 1,000 words. A reference letter speaks more than anything. So I don't call it an email. I call it a package. So what should you send? It's not only email. You should think about your reference letters from people in that field. In my case, there are some reputable professors in 3D printing. So if I am trying to get admission to University of Saskatchewan, maybe my master's, I did it with a reputable professor of 3D printing in Finland, I'll ask that professor to write me a reference letter. Every time I send that package, I'm including that package. There's something called a portfolio, especially if you're doing a research-based thesis. A portfolio is really looking at, okay, what have I done? What skills do I have? It's not your resume, it's a portfolio. In engineering, it is very critical to have a good portfolio. So if this professor has highlighted 4 areas of research they are working on, there are 6 tools that they highlighted that they use these tools, they use that tools. If you have used those tools in the past, if you have something to show, maybe you used XRF for some characterization, and you have very nice pictures for that SRF. Put a few pictures and put a link to the paper you published or a paper you contributed to and you did that. Let that portfolio stand out and be customized for their research. When they open that portfolio, it's your joker. Once they see what they do, that this person can do that, they want to read your email. That is one of the things that have worked the most for my own mentees when they're trying to, not only the crafted emails, but those attachments, those reference letters, the portfolio, the resume. And if you have a proposal, a research proposal related to what they're doing, put it there. Yes, it's a whole package. So this has to be strategic. So you need to think it through before you say, I'm pressing send. Because that send, I'm going to send out in a couple of days, I think tomorrow, but I'm a little sick. That's why you have not received the rest of my journey from Finland to Canada. I'm going to send out how my professor, that was my PhD professor, picked interest in me all the way from Finland. And within 3 days, he gave me 3 years funding. I'm going to detail everything out in that email. There is a strategy to this package and putting your best foot forward. So it's not just the email, it's a total package. And hopefully next week, you will hear directly from professors, my friends that I went to school with, who decided to go to academia. You hear from them how to really package that. But there is more to it. Stay tuned. And hopefully next week, you get your full package. Madam, you're next.
Oh yeah, there's a whole lot of things to say when it comes to securing a supervisor for
Yes.
research-based programs.
Do you want to
uh,
pick another question?
Someone is asking if they need GRE to get full funding for PhD program. I think these requirements are program dependent. So if GRE is required for that particular PhD program, for my PhD program, I didn't need a GRE. So it depends. I think most engineering courses, I don't know. And then, so the thing, just look at the requirement for that particular, the most important thing in securing a PhD funding or program is your professor, especially if it's a school that requires that you have an advisor or a professor, before you get into the program. Dr. Addy said the last time that some schools do not require you to, get a professor. You can just get in and then they allocate a professor to you, or they assign a professor to you. But most schools, I think there are just few schools that would do that. But most schools will require you get a professor. So GRE, it's between you and your professor, really. If your professor gives you a pass, with or without GRE, grad school will go back to the professor and say, oh, are you sure you're accepting the student? And he says yes or no. And then your fate is dependent on that. So first of all, secure a supervisor. That is the most important thing for research-based, whether PhD or master's, research-based programs. Yeah.
Okay. I'm putting this. What is the possibility of gaining a student visa for bachelor's with a 10-year study gap? I want to say here that I've talked about this a bit in the beginning, that I believe there's a 10-year study gap, but you have been working for that 10 years, right? So if you're trying to go into a master's degree, you want to kind of talk about what have you been doing for 10 years. If you started a business, if you were having kids, if you were working, whatever you have been doing, you need to explicitly explain that. What I have in the past helped somebody to connect. So this person had 3 kids. So they had 6-year gap and they worked for only 2 years. So a total of 8 years, but 6-year gap because the person just kept having kids and wanted to go back to get a master's degree. And this person, when we talked about it, we talked about the fact that this person wants to get a master's degree in nursing because now she has 3 kids. And she had a degree in science laboratory technology, which is very well connected to nursing. But now with those 3 kids, she's looking at enhancing her knowledge of how to actually manage people and do points of care kind of analysis. And we wrap this up in a way that made her motivation clear. So instead of being penalized for having 3 kids and having 6 years of gap, she will be praised for saying that now that I have kids, I need to make sure I know how to not only take care of my children, but other people. Now I want to study nursing. So the motivation was clear. So to you, the question to you would be, how do you want to make sure that that 10-year gap is being talked about fully? So whoever is evaluating your admission or your visa, understand clearly that this is actually your motivation, or what you have been doing for 10 years is this. Yes, the work experience may be different from your bachelor's degree. You also want to be mindful there. You can't say, in your case, you can't say you want to do a master's in the same field as your bachelor's degree without a lengthy explanation. But it would be easier for you to say you want to do a master's degree in something you've done some work on during that 10 years. And that is your motivation for that master's degree, because you are seeking knowledge to be able to do better. So this should not be a problem. But how you present it when you are looking for your admission or when you are looking for the visa has to be really, you have to craft it properly. Madam, do you have anything to say to that?
Oh yeah, you said it all. So with the 10 years study gap, what have you been doing, during that 10 years? Were you working? Were you having kids and all that? I think you said it all. So worst case, just apply as a matured student, especially if age is not on your side. So these people know, they know all these things and they want to know that that the best way for you to come in is coming as a matured student, So it's very important for you. One thing about study visa application, put that immigration officer on the same page as you are. Let them know what you're thinking. Why are you doing this? What is the motivation? Why do you want to come in after 10 years? So once you make them know these things and they see reason with you, it shifts their mind from the fact that you're actually just running away. And then they know that, oh, you have a target. So if you're able to do that, because we can't start giving specific answers to specific situations or scenarios. So the baseline of getting a study visa is putting them on the same page with you. If I'm the immigration officer reviewing your paper and I look at it, do I think what you're thinking in your head that is not running away from Nigeria? So once you can answer that question, you know, by the time you write your letter, give it to someone to read it. I like to proofread people, and I, you know, look for all the holes and puncture it, and I tell you, go back and do your work again. That means you've not done it well. So this person says, does LMIA apply in AIPP? Yes, because Atlantic Immigration Pilots Program, like the employer has to certify that they've looked for someone and they cannot get one person, which is why they are hiring you. So that is where the LMIA comes in. So yes, you have to do that. One more question very quickly. Must someone in the pool apply for Manitoba provincial nominee or just show interest in EE profile? You have to apply to a specific provincial nominee that is willing to accept you while you're in the pool, because you can't just, you know, stay there and say, oh, I'm interested in which one in particular. Are they accepting you? Are you getting your 600, you know, points? So it's very important you're specific to which of them you want to apply to.
Okay. Okay. So, are you done?
Yeah, I'm done. I'm good. I'm checking for another one.
Somebody is asking about their internship experience. Can my internship experience be used as a work experience for express entry? You are the express entry person. Do you want to take it, or I can take it?
No, the only I think the only eligibility for that, like it says you have to have a job that you're paid for. So it's a paid experience. So I think you can use it because, you know, they pay you for doing that. That is why we use NYSC, because NYSC pay you for doing that. And then maybe there is a tax you pay while you get paid, right? So when you get paid, you have the tax and everything that they deduct from the money. So I think it's good to go. You can use it. Yes, okay. Because so it's not a free work. Yeah.
If it's paid and it is not part of your education.
Okay, I don't know about that. But what it says, what the regulation says is for a job that, you know, a paid job. That is the underlining word there, a paid job. So a paid job because they expect that you pay your tax from that paid job. So I don't know if, you know, there's another rule for if it's part of your study or not part of your study. So I'm not sure. I don't want like saying things that I'm not sure about.
I'm Googling this, and that is one of the most liked one for people. What I also believe is that when I did my own express, it wasn't express entry when I did mine, and I used my internship as part of it. But my degree is a 4-year degree, but in the end, I spent more than 4 years because of ASU strike and stuff like that. So I can literally claim that internship because I did a 4-year study, but I finished in 5 years because of ASU strike. So I could not be penalized that's a call came. So I could not be penalized that is part of it. So this is something to be researched, but I think your internship should be used because I think it's pretty straightforward. For people in Africa, it's easy to dodge that, even if they're saying it has to be if it's part of your education, that it can be counted. Usually our 4 years is never 4 years. So if it's a little longer, you are probably safe and you can proceed with using that.
Someone wants to know if West evaluates third-class certificates. I don't think it matters what your grade is. What matters is what the certificate is. So just evaluate. They want to know if the degree in Nigeria is the same with the degree in Canada. So it doesn't really matter if you have a third class or whatever. So just evaluate your result with West. It counts for you that you have a degree and you have the degree. So that's basically all. Someone is saying that you should throw more light on securing a PhD supervisor in Canada. I think you said it all. And follow up with Dr. Addy. So she's bringing in a professor on Friday, so you get more info about that.
Yes, I think people can wait until Friday when we have professors here and they can really talk about how their own experience has been and why they don't read some of our emails, right? I'm actually thinking maybe I should go and bring some of my white professor friends also, so that we can know that it's not just because they applied.
Oh,
This is really
okay.
how they feel. I'll ask a couple and see who. I know it's dicey. Whenever I ask my friends to come on here, they're scared. They think that everybody will know them because me. Well, I have a crucial question here that I would like to answer, because we answer a lot of questions under Express Entry and Study, but we haven't answered questions a lot under Career. If it's okay, I have 2 solid questions or 3 under Career that I want to touch. One of them is, I had a first class in my bachelor's degree in medical laboratory science. I can't see any fully funded scholarship for my course to Canada, and that has been my preferred location because of the post-study work program. What should I do? I want to touch on this because it is crucial for us to understand that from country to country, what we call these degrees may vary. And also, one degree can be, we talked about this last week, one degree can go in several career paths, right? So you can call it medical laboratory science, but this medical laboratory science has opportunities in various fields. So maybe this person needs to stop to look for PhD in medical laboratory science or masters in medical laboratory science. Please proceed and start to look for masters in pharmacology and toxicology, parasitology, cellular research, vaccine and immunology, and biotechnology, and biomedical sciences. With your background in medical laboratory science, you are eligible to get a master's in those areas. I'll repeat them: pharmacology and toxicology, parasitology, vaccine and immunology, cellular research, biotechnology, and biomedical sciences. Those areas can fulfill any of your needs. And even biochemistry, there's so many of them. Anatomy and physiology, there are so many things that you can do with your degree in medical laboratory science. So if you're not putting the right keywords and you are looking for masters and PhD, it will not return you the right program. You will think there's nothing there. But there are so many programs, especially now that we're going through COVID-19 and whatnot. People who are doing RNA extraction, they are needed for all this testing. They say we don't have people to test. They are looking for people with background. In fact, I was thinking, with my background in tissue engineering, I know how to do RNA extraction. Maybe I can go and volunteer in one lab and help with COVID-19 testing, treatments, or whatever they need it for. So please, make sure that when you are looking for a master's degree opportunity, you are well aware of different opportunities possible beyond what it is called in your native country, because it could have a different name, or there could be multiple pathways. And if you don't know what those pathways are, you will just be going round and round, and it will look like there are no opportunities, whereas you are swimming in opportunities. You just need to know what those right keywords are. Thank you.
Yeah. So I see a lot of questions here, but I think we've touched all those questions. I don't know if those people posting them are new, or if someone is.
We have you touched them.
Yeah, so they're like basically the same question. I've answered, does West evaluated class? Oh yeah, you have an admission. Can you go ahead with your application, your visa? Yes, you can, because you can't even resume that particular program online until you have your visa. So we know that you should start online, but if you don't have your visa, the government of Canada has said that no one without a visa should resume online classes. So you have to have your visa, then you can resume online classes, and then once the airline starts working, so you can immediately come to continue your program. So it's important for you to go ahead and apply for your visa.
Okay, am I next?
Yeah.
Okay, so I have another question here on career. What education trajectory do I need to follow to arrive at the semiconductor industry (nanotechnologies), both at master's and doctorate level? Though I'm still an undergrad student studying chemistry education, what school and what country will you recommend? On school and country, I don't have recommendations because what the offerings from school to school may vary. And most countries are very similar offerings based on how they are approaching technological advancement. So you need to find the school and the country that fits you. In terms of what career path, usually people who arrive at semiconductor related work, they have background in material science, chemical engineering or chemistry, electrical science, physics, or computer engineering. Now, when we look at the jobs of the future, you need to really think about, okay, if I am working under this, what is it? Because semiconductor related work, they are not in high demand too much because it's a niche. It's a niche that less than 2% of engineering people fall into. So you need to position yourself properly in that niche, because if you're not properly positioned, getting a job is hard, right? But if you're properly positioned, it is really interesting. So I'm a 3D printing engineer, and right now there's a lot of material upgrades being done in the semiconductor industry where they use 3D printing to make all of these different semiconductor devices. So you need to not just want to get into semiconductor industry, you need to get in the forefront of the innovation they are using there. So I'm not really sure what this person is trying to achieve, but you need to really think about what is happening in the semiconductor industry. What are the areas they are solving problems for right now? And plug yourself right in the forefront of it. Very lucrative, but it's a very small niche. So you need to be properly positioned so that you don't get frustrated when you get your degree. I like the take on nanotechnology, because nano is, 10 years ago, they told us nano is the future. So nano is here. So as you get into the nanotechnology space, you need to make sure that you're thinking about what is the future. Is it still going to be nano, or is it going to be changing from nano? So make sure that you are positioning well. You are thinking about 10 years from now. You are thinking about 20 years from now. When you make those decisions, you are already in chemistry, but make sure you are reading up so that you can understand, for this semiconductor industry, what are the areas that you're focusing on. I cannot overemphasize that, because I have seen a lot of people who are actually at the forefront of innovation, but they are still not getting a grasp of a good return on investment. Because when you do a master's, especially a PhD, you become very, very niche. You are streamlined. So if you are not sitting in the right stream, you will struggle a lot. So you need to be in the right stream. So if you're even streamlined, you can still be flying high, you can still be soaring high, because you are in the right stream. And this is possible. So do your research before you venture into it. And I can assure you that it's a very good field. You'll enjoy it, and it has a very good future. Okay, your turn.
I was looking up something because of someone's question. He said he's a photographer. That is there a way he can come in as a photographer. So I was looking at the Federal Skilled Trades program. So I think for all the hairstylists, for all the electricians, all the plumbers, all those kind of jobs, you can actually try the Federal Skilled Trades program. And then a lot of people don't know that you can get, what do they call it? Certificates of qualification. So you can get a certificate of qualification that you're going to use to add, more points to your CRS score. So getting this certificate of qualification, it's not that difficult, but because people don't know how to go about it, that's why people do not go for it. So if you're a baker, you're, all those kind of, we call them handiwork back in Nigeria. So all those kind of jobs can actually come to Canada. All you need to do is just to, get that certificates of qualification. So basically what you do, I think they verify whatever it is you're doing, and then when they verify, because you submit all your documents, you submit everything, then they verify these things. And then if they are satisfied that really, I know about a fashion designer, they even had to ask her how many sewing, or how many times she matches her leg on that on the machine for like per minute or something. So they kind of verify all those things, and then they send for you to come into Canada and take the exam. So you come into Canada, you take the practical exam, and you also take the theoretical exam, and once you pass it, they issue you this certificate. So you can try those ones. I'm going to do like a more precise, description of this method for any of you that is interested, because I get a lot of questions from this part. That is why I picked the question.
So somebody is asking about immigration status. So if you are out of immigration status, maybe let me just put it off. So that means you have overstayed your visa in Canada, for example, and now you want to apply for express entry. That if this is possible.
Oh, you want me to? So she said, can someone with overstay travel history? That overstay travel history in your passport is a bad thing, because number one, you're ruling out you might be able to do an express entry, but not a study permit, because express entry, you're saying you want to come and stay. So, but I think again, the question of integrity comes in. You travel to those places and you're supposed to leave as at when you. So why didn't you leave? So that shows them that you're not, you're not someone with integrity. And why would they want you to come and live permanently in their country? So once you have done something like that, I don't think I don't know what your chances are, but I think that's a red flag. You have a passport with an illegal stay, showing that you have a history of illegal migration or whatever. It's not going to work for study. Don't even consider it. But I don't know about the express entry, because express entry, you're declaring interest that you're coming to stay permanently. But still, I think it's a questionable behavior or character that, it's a red flag.
It is a red flag. For study visa, it's going to be very tricky. For express entry, it's possible. It is possible. I have seen someone who came to the US and their visa expired. They went to school and got a OPT and didn't get a job, and it expired. While she was trying to get that job, she was applying to express entry in Saskatchewan. She got a Saskatchewan nominee. She got that ITA from Saskatchewan. So, this is one case that I know, and it is a provincial nominee. So maybe this vary from province to province, or you think you're lucky that the person that is addressing your situation doesn't see it as a big deal. But I've seen one person who passed through that Saskatchewan nominee after having their OPT visa expire in the US, and it was not a problem for express entry. For student visa, I think it's going to be really hard to do.
But I think that's a different case, because they had a study visa, and then they got the OTP, as you said, but then they couldn't get a job. So you're not completely out of status, right? And then probably she started applying for this before her OTP expired. So, but for someone to just, I see people that just go to visit in the US, you're there to visit, and then you don't return back, and then your visa expires, and then you want to come from there to Canada. It's going to be tough. It's going to be a tough one, except maybe you get married or something, and then your spouse is bringing you. That one, I know they cannot say no, but anyway, they can still try.
Can I claim NOC for a job I did 8 years, 5 years ago?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you can. It doesn't matter how long it is, so long as you did the job and you can provide a reference letter or proof that you did that job. I think that's all that matters.
Great. Can I take one of my career questions?
Oh, yeah.
Is asking, what is the role of data, business analysis in Industry 4.0? With the current pandemic, will there be another industrial revolution? And that is also the person asking about lawyer and tech. I have a slide here that I want to show to talk briefly about Industry 4.0. Please bear with me. So, yay, he's not showing properly. It's not centering, but it's okay. I'm gonna be fine. So this slide was supposed to show you a few areas in Industry 4.0 and why it is important for us to start to think about it. So this person is asking if we already have the fourth industrial revolution or if it's coming. You don't have to wait for the fourth industrial revolution because it's right here. It has started already. And when we think about the fourth industrial revolution, we're thinking about areas such as 3D printing is part of that, the trajectories, and we have big data, machine learning, data analytics, all of them lumped together into one. We have cybersecurity, we have blockchain, we have advanced robotics, we have Internet of Things. We have a lot of different areas, all of them working together under the umbrella of Industry 4.0. So data analytics or big data definitely have a role to play in this area. You have to ask yourself, yes, now that we're moving into the fourth industrial revolution and it's right here, how can I be a partaker? Partaker doesn't mean that you need to cross over and add some tech to your field. In some cases, what you have is enough, but you need to be aware enough to connect what you have to an Industry 4.0 area. In some cases, you may be able to do a little career crossover of I'm going to have 20% of this new field to my career to boost my career so I can stand a chance of being more competitive. So you need to kind of really know what are those areas. And yes, the fourth industrial revolution has started. So as Africans, what I found out is we are always late to the table of innovation. We are always late to the table of revolution. This fourth industrial revolution, I'm challenging us that it must not leave us behind. Everybody is talking about big data. They're talking about 3D printing. They're talking about blockchain. They're talking about artificial intelligence. What are we doing as young people? I want to challenge you today that if you have not heard about Industry 4.0 before, I want you to Google it and I want you to educate yourself about the different branches and start to think about which one is connected to your career and how can you launch into that area? Because I'm telling you, this is going to be here for 50 years or more. If Industry 4.0 is going to be here, where we're going to have advanced robots, where we're going to have all this cool stuff, why should you not be a partaker of it? If you are looking for a secured career, you need to be thinking about how do I connect my career to that? Because for 50 years, there's going to be job security for people in these areas. We started from 1.0 to 2.0. 3.0 brought us computer, brought us internet, but 4.0 is going to bring us interconnectivity that is greater than what we currently have. It's going to bring us opportunity for faster productivity. It's going to give us a smart factory. So as young people who still have 30 years or more career ahead of us, I think we should be challenging ourselves to plug in so that you too can be able to, you know, when you're looking for funding in machine learning now, Harvard has funding, all these schools have funding because these are new areas. When I was looking for funding in 3D printing, it was not a problem to find because there are so many new researches in those areas. If you are looking to find easier funding, they are mostly they are very present in the Industry 4.0 area because companies and countries are investing heavily in these areas. So for those who are trying to go to school, plugging yourself into the Industry 4.0 area will only make your search for a professor easier and make your life be easy to thrive. You'll be easy to thrive. You climb up hopefully easily. Yes, it's not as easy as I said it. It's complex, but I believe that if you can get a degree, you are a super person. You can do anything you put your mind to. Thank you. Yes, affected nursing. Yes, so there is something that we call now e-nursing. We have telemedicine, we have telerobotics, where somebody can be in the US and controlling a robot in Africa to be doing surgery, precise surgery there, right? That is application of this Industry 4.0 to medicine. Right now, because of COVID-19, everything we do is So I'm talking to my nurse every week. That is e-nursing. If I need e-prescription, e-everything, they are all in this part of the world. Africa is still behind in those, but there are a lot of opportunities to make this go to Africa, where you don't have to go to the hospital to get prescription anymore. Your prescription can be sent by your nurse directly to your pharmacy. Your nurse don't have to see you face to face. You can exchange communication with your nurse as to how you're feeling. And they need nurses with a little bit of tech understanding to be able to be the e-nurses, to be able to be the one issue e-prescriptions and e-diagnosis So there is infusion of tech going into nursing, into every medical fields that we have. So everybody can be a partaker. You just go and Google that Industry 4.0 and find how it relates to your field, add a bit of it to it, and hopefully that makes you more competitive than you were today that I'm talking to you. Thank you.
Someone is asking, someone says they are 33 years of age and they got admission, for undergrad study. That would the Canadian embassy grant them the visa?
Undergrad study. What have you been doing for the last, since you graduate from your bachelor's, or what were you doing before now? All of those has to go into.
But we don't even know if the person has a degree in the first place.
So you're coming for a second degree? You should.
Like, we don't even know if this is supposed to be their first degree. So I think it's important to know if this is going to be your first degree, at least you have a case to make. You can say, oh, you finished secondary school and then you couldn't afford, studying or whatever that took your time and made it impossible for you to go for your degree. And then if you have an existing degree and you just want to do a second degree, then you also need to justify. So I think it's still the same thing with what we talked about, being able to justify whatever you're doing. If you justify it well to the immigration officer, if they can reason with you, then you get the visa. But if they cannot reason with you, if you don't put them on the same page with whatever you're doing or whatever your motivation is, then you're not going to get the visa. So it's easy like that.
Okay. There's a question that is very critical and I want us to address it. We are both rounding off our MSc in the UK, but she is HIV positive and undetectable. We plan moving through education on express entry to Canada, but she feels discouraged because of the phrase medical inadmissibility. Any advice?
I don't know.
Okay.
Like, I don't have any experience with the medical, inadmissibility.
Yes, I have seen a family struggle through medical inadmissibility because of their son having autism. And they fought this case and they won. In our case, she has a case. Why? Because she actually is undetectable. When they say somebody is medically inadmissible to Canada, it's because that person is going to put a burden on the Canadian health system, which is technically free. So Canada protects themselves by making sure that they are not bringing people who are, so if you're going to spend more than $15,000 on medical related expenses, I think yearly or so, they will just feel like you're going to stress the medical system. In this case, I believe that this person, if this person is undetectable, that means you are not going to cause the health system a lot of harm. And if she can prove that by providing a medical history and showing that in the last 3 years, this is how much I have spent yearly on drugs or on medication, and I haven't been admitted to the hospital. I'm not laying down. HIV is not AIDS. In fact, them calling her medically inadmissible, she has a point. She needs to write a very fantastic letter really stating her point that HIV is not AIDS, that she is not detectable, she's not stressing medical care in the UK, and showing her medical history. If she can do that, I think she will be admissible and that clause will lift. If it is true that she wants this, she's very interested in moving to Canada, she deserves it. She deserves a shot at life and there's nothing wrong with her. I believe that she can put her best foot forward with I know that this is traumatic to have to write about this situation and be fighting the government of a country to admit you. But I want you to put that sentiment aside. I want you to focus on what you're trying to write down and put a good stuff together. I am willing to help you read that letter for free, not on my mentorship program or anything. Read that letter and make sure it reflects your intention. You put it as part of your admission papers or your other papers if it's express entry, and hopefully that works out for you. Good luck.
What West evaluation is applicable when processing for express entry. The one for IRCC. So when you log onto the WES page, you see 3 boxes. So one is just the normal WES, one is for IRCC, and then one other WES, I can't remember, but then you go for the WES for IRCC. So that is the particular WES evaluation that is applicable to for express entry. Someone says, if you go to Canada with a student visa, how long do you have to wait before you apply for spousal? It's as soon as you can. There is no, you can even go with your spouse together, but it's good for you to come settle. And then if you don't have kids, if it's just you and your spouse, I mean, you guys can come in together. The essence of saying come first before your spouse is, just to have the family tie, and also to allow you settle, because it's not easy moving with family. Canada is cold. You don't want to come in with your family. You don't even have a car. You don't even know your way around, how to do groceries. You don't even have any daycare you have, for them. So it's always better for you to come in, get settled, and then you get your family over. So like I waited for 2 months, and then I started, processing for my husband and kids. So it all depends on you.
We have, I think, 15 more minutes. We will only take questions from what is here or whatever Mrs. O wants to take. And we will round up in 15 minutes. Someone is asking, I have sent my ND and HND for WES evaluation. Can I still send my BTech transcript after? Oh, it's not read. I don't understand the last part, but I believe that if you're trying to claim for 2 certificates, they need one of the certificates to be more than 3 years. So if you have a BTech and you have HND and ND, I will advise that you also evaluate your BTech. So that way the BTech will serve as the more than 3 years degree, and you can use one of your ND or HND to secure the other point. So put in that BTech if you can, because it will help your application.
Is it okay?
Not answering your question. Where did you put the question? All questions must be put in the question box. Please put the questions in the question box. Somebody is asking about gift deed. How do I get a gift deed? Money is in my parents' account. Is gift deed a certificate from court?
The gift deed can be in your parents' account. It has to be in your account. So why it's called a gift deed? Because you're trying to prove how you've gotten this, how you have this lump sum. If your parents transfer 10 million into your account, you can't just go and show the immigration. Oh, somebody, you have to, accompany you to take gift deed. I think that's a letter you have. I don't know if you have to attach something from the court, but I know it's a letter, to prove that it's a letter, basically. I don't think you need anything from the court. It's just a letter explaining that this is, a savings or a gift from my parents, to support in my studies or whatever. So you can't leave the money in your parents' account and you say it's a gift. It has to be in it's a gift to you, so it has to be in your account.
Yes, I think I think if you want a lawyer to help you write that letter, it's fine. But you can write it yourself. All you have to prove is the person who sent you this money is truly your family, it's truly your mother or your father, and they actually gave you this money. It could be for maybe to help you with the processing of your Canadian visa. Or I remember Omobi saying that for them, when they gave them gift deed, the mom claimed that this was their wedding gift, that when they got married, this was the gift she wanted to give them to support them as a family. So your whoever owns that money, after they give you the money, needs to be able to write something to say why they gave you the money, and that is to support you. So it can be written by a lawyer, or you can draft it if you think you are eloquent and you can do it by yourself. I think it should be fine.
What of those that studied abroad, but what happened to your screen? Okay.
Sorry.
What of those that studied abroad but didn't do NYSC? Hope it won't affect the application. As you mean your express entry application. Your express entry has no business with NYS. NYSC is a national thing, so it's only for Nigeria. So it doesn't have any inputs or any outputs here.
And I didn't do NYSC, and I still haven't done it. I'm sorry. Really? Yeah, I know. Some people have told me and said, someday we want you to come home and rule Nigeria, whatever. I don't have NYSC. If Nigeria cannot accept me like this, if Nigeria cannot accept me, it's over for, I'm not coming back. Who even wants to come back before? So NYSC is not going to affect anything because it's not a mandatory thing for you here. And I think if you have done NYSC, it's a 1 year work experience that you can claim, because it's a 1 year experience for you if it is paid. So don't worry about it too much because it's just applicable in Nigeria. So somebody is saying that pension fund, can a pension fund be used as proof of funding?
No. No. You cannot use a pension fund. You can only use a pension fund if you want to establish ties back home. When I was coming, I used my pension because your pension is stationed back in your home country. You cannot access your pension as you're here. So there are some regulations, you know, guiding your pension account back in Nigeria. So you can just use it, you know, to show proof of fund, but you cannot use it as, you can use it to show ties, like when you're talking about investment, pension, and all those things back home. But you cannot use it, you know, to show. They need to know that you have your cash in liquid form.
Okay.
Someone said, what kind of reference can be acceptable if the organization you used to work for no longer exists? So if the organization no longer exists, you have to attach at least your employment letter. Like when they employed you, you had employment letter, maybe you had confirmation letters. You know, if you must put a proof that you actually worked there. So if it no longer exists, can you reach out to, you know, the owners of the company or the HR? You can reach out to them. They can endorse, you know, write a letter for you that says, oh, you actually worked here at this particular time.
Okay. So there's a question here on admission into MBA if you don't have background in business. And I want to let you know that it's okay if you don't have background in business if you want an MBA, but usually you need to show connection with maybe your current work or the motivation for that work experience. So let's say at your current work, some of the work that you are currently working on or you will be working on shortly has some business related predictions that have to be made or business management related work that has to be done, and you feel like your experience, that having this education will help you do that, you can connect your degree with that MBA and state that your work experience right now is the motivation for the MBA. And I think that should be acceptable. Usually how they assess whether you're a good candidate for a master's program is they look at your bachelor's degree or the work experience you have. One of them usually must tie to your master's degree. If you can tie that, in this case, you are good to go and you should be able to find a school that will give you admission.
Someone is asking, is it after you come to Canada before you can apply for certificates of qualification as a fashion designer? So how this thing works, you're going to apply from your country of residence. So if you're in Nigeria, for example, you apply from Nigeria, you submit all your CSC documents, all your certificates of, if you have, maybe you've gone through any training or written any exam that, you know, qualifies you as a fashion designer, you have to submit all your documents to IRCC. So it takes like 3 months, I think between 3 and 5 months. They are going to do all the search, you know, do all the background check, and then they confirm that yes, indeed, you're a fashion designer, you are established. Then they will send you an invite. You will come into Canada and write the exam for that particular, you know, skill. And when you pass this exam, they're now going to give you the certificate of qualification, which it's just like when you get a provincial nominee, it adds 600 points. I'm not sure how many scores you get from this certificate. I think it's about 50 or so. But again, the cutoff for this part is low. I think it's about 200 or I'm not sure. I don't want to give wrong figures, but I'm going to do a whole, you know, I'm going to put up something together for this particular field of, you know, immigrating to this particular route to immigrate to Canada. So just, you know, be on the outlook for that. I'm going to do that maybe this week or next week. So yeah, they do this draw twice every year. It's not frequent like other draws, but a lot of people don't know about it, which is why, I'm sure that's why IRCC do it just twice, because a lot of people don't even go for it. So you can start to, you know, use those options, because now the study and the express entry is getting saturated. So you can start to use all those skills.
Okay. Please, madam, be projecting your questions so that we can read.
No, I can't do it from my end. I think you're the only one that can do it because you're the one who, yeah, I tried to do it. But
once I see the question, I will project it. I have a medical lab science degree but my result isn't that good. Do I go for a PhD, PGD, or a second degree? I think you have to consider a couple of things before making this choice. A PGD is fast, right? You do that within a year or so, that's over. A second degree means you are going to spend another 4 years in a degree program, which costs a lot of money. And yes, it costs a lot of effort as well. So you need to ask yourself, what exactly do you need? What is your motivation? What are you trying to achieve here? And once you get that figured out, who is going to pay for this program? Do I have enough money to cover another bachelor's degree? Because most bachelor's degree in Canada, you don't get scholarship for them. They are mostly paid fully. When you are in that program, you can be able to stay competitive and get Dean scholarships and different scholarships to help you from your second year moving forward. But the first year, oftentimes, you may have to bear most of the burden if you don't get any scholarship. So you need to think through what your finances is, what your motivation is. If you have a bachelor's degree, let's say in one area, and you want to go and get a second degree in that area, I don't advise that, because it just, you're going to end up getting the same highest level of education. So it's basically pointless. So evaluate how much you have, evaluate the amount of time you have, and think through what exactly is your, what are you trying to achieve? And with all of those, you can decide which routes to go. I understand that, you know, you may think, okay, because I don't have good grades, maybe it's better to start from all over. Sometimes it's not really, it doesn't make a difference, right? If you are actually in a place where you feel like, I understand why I didn't do better in the beginning, you want to make up for that by redoing, that is up to you. But if you feel like I can keep going forward, but I will take my mistakes of not doing well in the first one and make sure that I would study to compensate for what I lost, maybe you can just go ahead and do a PGD. Good luck.
Please, Ifoma Timothy, what is your question? I've been scrolling all through to get your question, but I can't even get it. So if you can just post it now, I'm just at the last question. So if you can hear me and you can post your question, please post it. I think she has been putting in her question since, and we don't even see it.
I don't see the
so
question.
Someone is asking,
I don't see any question from her.
Yeah, but she just keeps saying she posted a question. Okay, so someone is asking that they are in the express entry pool and then they want to go, you know, through the study routes, that how hope is not going to affect. So it's not going to affect. You're in the express entry and you want to study. They don't clash, like they are independent of each other. Yes, your profile is going to be on their database. So you cannot even say, don't give different information, because you have your profile already in their database. So don't say, maybe you're going for a master, a second degree, and you don't want them to know that you have an existing degree. But meanwhile, you've evaluated with West and it's there in their database. Don't do that. Once you're getting into the database, use the same information, because it cuts across. They are going to find out. But they don't interfere with each other. They can't say, because you're coming to study and you're in the express entry, we're not going to give you anything. No, they don't. They are independent of each other. So you can be in the express entry and decide to go and study. It's your choice, right?
Mm-hmm. So someone is asking, can I get admission into medicine with bachelor's degree or possibly a master's in medical biochemistry? The answer is absolutely no for Canada. That is possible for the US. Canada is very, very different with their medical degree. They admit strictly Canada-based people who have done a bachelor's or even a master's in Canada. So the US is more flexible. If you have foreign degrees, you can go to the Caribbean, you can go to the US. But Canada, they are very patriotic. Solely Canadian schooled people who have bachelor's or master's here are admitted into our medical school. It's sad, but that's the reality.
Talking about having different birth certificate, I answered that question already. Ima Frontiers, I answered that question already. I said you should attach an explanatory letter, have your birth certificate attached to whichever one that is the real age, and also get a court okay.
Okay. I have one here. It said, will postgraduate diploma I believe this is to transition to PR. If your postgraduate diploma is a 1-year program, you will only get 1 year post-study work permit. If you cannot secure a job or get your PR sorted in that 1 year, it will be very, very tricky for you. If you are meaning to use the Canadian experience class, you need minimum of 1 year Canadian experience. And if that's what your postgraduate study will give you, so that means you must get a job from the day you graduate from that program, which is not realistic. So it depends on the number of years of your post-study. My advice to you is do not get any that gives you less than 2 years post-study work permit, because it's going to be tricky to get a job and move your profile to permanent residence within a year. It's unrealistic. 2 years or more should be the program you consider.
Yeah, Miss Sweet, I think you should go on with what you have experience in. I'm not in the place to tell you what to do, but you have a degree in early childhood, but then you've been, working as a risk management or collection officer. So I think it's easier for you to continue with what you have experience in, except if you think otherwise.
Okay. Someone is asking, can a first-class bachelor's apply directly to PhD, skipping masters in Canada? This is not really a Canadian style. We have 1 minute 42 seconds. Canada, yeah. Most of the schools, you need a master's degree. Have I seen this happen? Yes. And what I have seen the most is people come for masters, and while in that masters, they transition to PhD, which is 5 years. But in most cases, you actually need a master's, or Canada is just more preferably, that's their style. The US, though, on the other hand, there are a lot of programs where you can just go straight to PhD. Is this possible in Canada? It is possible. It is very rare, but the common one is from your master's, when you're already in Canada, you can move over to PhD. One of the reasons for that is because most of the funding we get, they are 3-year funding. So a professor may not be able to commit to a 5-year program with you if he only has 3-year funding, right? So it's tricky, but it's possible, but it's very uncommon. We have 45 remaining seconds.
These questions are not going to finish. I think we'll continue from.
Yes. So maybe I will just round up by thanking Mrs. O for her coming on here again today to help enlighten our guests. Thank you, our audience. Thank you, audience, for being engaging. We hope that some of these questions that you have got answered today. I'll be uploading this to YouTube.